I can help them build awareness towards it, though, is the goal, right? Like the goal is for the individual who's experiencing the shift out of their window to build that awareness of noticing when they are, and then building that capacity to stay in their window.
Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Steps, produced by Apolla Performance and Turning Point Dance Creations. We are back with mindset educator Ashley Mowrey to talk about, why do athletes lose it under pressure? Why does it seem like the focus disappears at the worst possible moment when it matters most? We hope this conversation will help athletes, coaches, and parents recognize the hidden causes of inconsistency and stress in performance. So let's get into this conversation about losing it under pressure. Are you ready, Ashley?
I'm ready.
So this is a continuation of our awesome conversation from last week. So if you missed it, make sure you go back and watch it on YouTube at Apolla Performance or at TP Dance Creations.
So Ashley, I want to talk about the common stressors. There's a lot of things: competition pressures, injury, kids that struggle with perfectionism. Which of those stressors tend to push athletes outside of their optimal window? You talked in the last part of our conversation about kind of those green, red, and blue zones that we all have, and the window shrinking and getting bigger due to all sorts of factors, right? But what are those common stressors that give us that extra push?
Yeah, I mean, you named several of them, right? And they are going to be so individualized to the person. This is one reason why I love teaching this concept to kids. Like at a studio I was at in last month, I taught this to as young as like 6, 7, 8-year-olds, because and we just use the zones, right? Like the color of the zones and stuff, because it really is going to be so individualized of like what stress feels too much to cope with for the individual. But some things, like you said, comparison is a big one. So, at competition, games, tournaments, like seeing everybody that you're competing against, comparison, perfectionism, negative self-talk, and then also add in all the things of like a competition or a game weekend. So think of all the sensory stimulation that you're getting at a dance competition, like the lights, the music, all the people, all of that sensory stimulation, that is really hard on our nervous system. And it is probably likely going to shrink your window of tolerance. Other things, chronic fatigue and overtraining. So if you are just constantly training and you're not resting and you're not recovering, again, on competition weekends too, like if you're not sleeping, if you're not eating properly, if you're not eating enough, those basic human needs like eating, sleeping, resting, recovering, hydration, your window is going to be smaller when those needs are not met. And so I think that that's another thing to really think about. Like even the week leading up to a competition or tournament, you really need to be prioritizing sleep and eating enough and eating things that are going to fuel your body.
The narrowing of the window. When Bree brought this up in the first episode, I was like, oh my gosh, that is true. It just narrows, and people out there, as you get older, it gets bigger. Just so you know, it's like the size of my finger. But I just had an aha moment when you were saying that about, the lights and the sounds and the competition, and like we as teachers, as we expose ourselves to these things year after year after year after year, and we don't do that recovery process. I mean, I can imagine that over time, widening the window probably gets harder, right? So, how does the narrowing of the window impact long-term performance and well-being?
Yeah. So a narrow window, with a narrow window, our nervous system becomes less resilient. And so we can't bounce back as quick from these stressors. We don't come back into our window as quickly. And what that can lead to is, so if our nervous system is constantly in overdrive, right? If it's constantly in these other blue or red zone, that is going to lead to increased burnout, exhaustion, increased risk for injury. Like we are not made, our sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system are made to be in harmony and to work and be in harmony. And when our sympathetic nervous system is in overdrive too much of the time, that is going to increase drastically the likelihood of burnout, exhaustion, injuries, things like that. So yeah, you're so right. We're not meant to stay in these states. We all go into them, right? They're, as we talked about last time, like they're automatic responses that we have, but we're not meant to stay in those zones.
Ashley, are there warning signs athletes can learn to recognize in themselves, or something as coaches and parents that we can learn to spot that are, that they are leaving, they are about to leave, warning, warning, they're leaving their window of tolerance, things are about to get messy, to have it, to avoid going so far outside of that window where we can rein it in before it becomes a really big problem? Or is it something you really just have to learn to regulate on your own?
Yeah, no, there are definitely warning signs. And definitely, like, as a parent and as a teacher myself, I definitely look out for those, and I try to remember, like, it's not my job to fix it. Like, it's just, I can help them build awareness towards it, though, is the goal, right? Like, the goal is for the individual who's experiencing the shift out of their window to build that awareness of noticing when they are, and then building that capacity to stay in their window. So definitely some physical signs, racing heart, shallow breathing, that kind of buzzing look, frantic. If they look anxious or if they start crying, hyperventilating, things like that are definitely going to be like some physical signs. Emotional signs, irritability, shutting down, feeling checked out. And so again, like, the goal is really to help that person build the awareness. And so when it comes to myself, I always think about, and this has been maybe one of the reasons I'm so passionate about this is because it really has been one of the tools that's helped me the most in the past 5, 6 years, is really widening. I mean, I will tell you, I had a very narrow window. Like, it was pretty small. You could knock me out. I could get irritable and snappy real quick. And then, 5, 6 years ago, when my mom was diagnosed with cancer, I realized, like, oh, I'm gonna stay here if I don't do something. Like, I've gotta, like, I can't live in this, constantly bumping out of my window. And so really building that capacity to be aware of, like, okay, my heart is starting to race. I always know for myself too, like, it's when I start to go faster. So when I try to, like, speed up around the house, or when I try to hurry through something or rush through something, like, that's a sign for me, like, ooh, okay, I'm bumping out of that. I need to slow down. I need to come back down. I'm getting too activated. And so it really is a constant practice of building that awareness of, like, where are the edges of the window? What does it feel like when you start bumping into it? And then what helps to bring yourself back down?
It's fantastic. So, a lot of really great nuggets in this segment again, and always breaking it down in a way that's digestible and easy to understand. So thank you for that, Ashley. So we're all about resources on this show, and I don't want you to forget about the free course that is the impetus and catalyst for this show. There's so much information in our steps initiative course about racism, sex abuse, and prevention, gender inequity, psychology, nutrition, medicine, and science, and how those things impact performance athletes. Check it out. Tell a friend. We're going to pop that link in the description and on your screen. So make sure to check that out. And it's a go at your own pace course. So I highly recommend it. We're also going to make sure to put Ashley's contact information. She makes herself really accessible to anybody that wants what she has to offer. And you can find more about her on ashleymowrey.com. But again, those will be linked in the description for you with her social media, her email, contact info, where we're going to give it all to you so you can reach Ashley however and whenever you want. And then please like, share, subscribe all of our episodes at Beyond the Steps. We are in season 6, but there is so many great conversations we've had over the years. I encourage you to go back from the beginning and watch and listen to it all, share, like, subscribe, all the things at Apolla Performance and TP Dance Creations on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. But Ashley, thank you again for joining us. It's always a pleasure, and we're excited to continue the conversation next week.
I'm so sad we're stopping for today, but you get the chance to digest it, take it in, think about it, and then we're going to come back next week with some practical strategies for you to implement. So you have to join us next Friday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, on YouTube at Apollo Performance and at TP Dance Creations for even more great information. You're going to get those actions that you can do to actually help your performance athletes maintain that window of tolerance. I am Melissa McDaniel Grisham with my amazing co-host, Bree Zabrowski. Until next time, we hope you continue your journey beyond the steps. Have an amazing day.